All right. Okay, as folks begin filtering Angel, it looks like Baby sang, and folks are coming in here. As you can see, the video is going to be titled, What is the GOP doing for kids? What are the Republicans doing on behalf of children? This obviously sounds like something crazy, or why would I even ask this? Well, we're asking this question because when you look at the mass casualty events that are taking place, and Robert, I see you got your Trump 2024. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. But yeah, the question we're going to be asking is, what are the GOP doing for children? So letting folks filter in, and we'll be asking this question because there's always a reason. When you look at the mass casualty events that are taking place, it is absolutely an outcry from the Liberal Party that guns are the culprit. But the right is obviously saying that guns have nothing to do with it. And as you know, what is the popular slogan? Guns do not kill people, people kill people. That's fine. What is the slogan coming from the right? Well, it's potentially mental health, it's potentially video games, and things of that nature. Have to look at everything from all angles. I appreciate that, Baby saying. But let me give me a second so I can stick my charger in my device. But the question we're asking in regards to what you just said, Baby saying, in terms of looking at things from all angles. The reason I'm asking what are the GOP doing to help children is because every liberal area you have, the minute we have a mass casualty event, the liberals start limiting gun laws and passing and going after guns. We get that the right thinks that is useless. And Robert, I'm gonna give you your answer to it. You're saying why am I mentioning kids? Well, the children are being killed. The liberals are blaming the guns. The right is saying the guns are not the problem. That's fine. So when you go into left wing areas, they're passing all these tough gun laws. And of course, we're pointing out like cities like Chicago are still violent. So, okay, the gun laws may not be the answer. What is the right saying is a problem? Potentially mental health. When you go into right wing areas, what are they actually doing in regards to limiting this stuff? We see what the liberals are doing. We're criticizing our liberals and suggesting that their policies are not working. But what are they doing in the right wing areas? If they believe mental health, for instance, is the problem, or violent video games is the problem, or rap music, or lack of parenting, what are they doing in the right wing areas to address the problem? Now, whatever method they attack may also be wrong, just like perhaps the liberals' issues is wrong, whereas the liberals are going after guns. What is the right actually doing to help the children? And that's why you're being asked what is the right or what are the GOP doing to help kids? I get what you don't think the problem is. You do not believe the problem is banning guns. That is fine. But in right-wing areas, what are you doing? That's what we're going to be asking. Now, looking at the comments, Kara said Trump tried to raise the age to 21. Congress and Senate didn't touch it. The establishment problem. Yeah, you're right. Trump did suggest raising the age of maturity to obtain a firearm to 21. I get folks all day in here every day, and these are Trump supporters, and none of them believe that well, I won't say none of them, but a lot of them do not support raising the age of maturity to 21. So, most likely, if Trump had wanted to raise the age of owning a firearm at 21, he would have faced most of the opposition from his own people. Fortify the schools first. Now, in regards to fortifying the schools, bottom for Trump, there's a fair bit of fortification already taking place in a lot of schools. The doors are already locked. There's metal detectors throughout the country in various schools. They're limiting the entrances they can come in, and there are schools now where they have police cars at least in front, if not police actively walking inside. I mean, at this point, like, how much more would more fortification be the answer? But that's the question that I'm asking. Like I said, as the broadcast rolls on, we see what the liberals are trying to do in liberal areas to address the mass casualty events. And I understand the right thinks that the way they are addressing them is wrong. But what are the GOP, what are the Republicans actually doing in Texas, in Florida, in Oklahoma, what are they actually doing to address the problem? Other than criticizing, the liberals are saying their approach is wrong. That's what we're asking you. No snowflakes, only mindless drones, please. Free thinking not allowed, says unexpected traveler. Okay, fair enough. And by the way, free speech, folks. So when folks say even comments like that, they get a chance to speak here. No, speech is not banned here. What's saying the shooting was not a setup? The AR he had was $2,500. He had no money. Okay, then, Rat Rider, I don't personally believe that the mass casualty events that are taking place are set up. But let's go with your angle. It's happening in a Republican state. There's not a gun-free zone other than that school in sight. There's no liberals around that area that happened in. So once again, if it's a setup, I go back to the original question. What are the Republicans doing to fix it? This happened in Texas, folks. Didn't happen in Chicago. Didn't happen in Los Angeles and New York. What are Republicans doing to help stave mass casualty events that happen in their areas? Right now on CNN, they're talking about a mass casualty event that took place today in Tulsa at a hospital. Only 3 people. And I hate to put it that way when I say only 3 people, but it looks like 3 people were shot at a hospital in Tulsa. Once again, another right-wing area, not a liberal in sight. What is the GOP doing to help stave off mass casualty events? I get that they think the left-wing approach with banning guns is wrong. We don't even have to talk about that. We're focusing on the right. Let me see what your comments are. And by the way, the box is open. The box is open. 3 people is all it takes for media to state a mass shooting. That's fair enough. And what's sad about it is because this happens so much, we want to raise the number above 3. We want 5? 9, 10? What does it take to be considered a mass casualty event? I really hate that. That's why in red states to change red moms' minds on guns. So you're suggesting, Sauce Check, love the name. You're suggesting that we need to get moms in Republican states to think differently on firearms. Is that what you're suggesting? Because that's what we're asking here, folks. We're not asking about liberals. And we can criticize liberals on this channel all day, every day. I get FJBs, let's go Brandons, and we do address that. So it's not like I run from the comments. You can talk about liberals here, fine. I make it clear my preferred audience is MAGA. However, I'm asking on this particular subject, since a lot of right-wingers are very critical that what the liberals are doing is the wrong approach, I'm asking, what is the right doing in terms of enacting the correct approach? You can say it's mental health, but what is actually being done by the right in right-wing areas to actually tackle the problem? Nope. I had my ex-husband sit outside our kid's school with his gun since dating. Oh my God. So you had your husband sitting outside the school your children go to with a firearm. Okay. All right. Fair enough. But, I don't know how much luck that would have had. I mean, if this is happening in a school and the doors are locked and things like that, he may not even be to get in there, but I guess some fighting chance is better than none. Beto O'Rourke is running for governor, says Texas. I don't see the rest of that, but Beto O'Rourke probably has no chance of victory in the state of Texas in 2022. It's just not that time. But good luck to Beto. Another shooting in Oklahoma and Pennsylvania. That's what we're talking about, DNA slots. We're asking in right-wing states, they make it clear banning guns, limiting firearms is not the correct thing to do. So the follow-up question is, well, what are they doing? They're being critical of the liberal policies. Those don't work. But what are the right-wing policies to limit mass casualty events in their states? What are they suggesting? What are they doing? What are they implementing? Trump was president. I see T-Mac says Trump is my man. Trump was president for 4 years. 2017, he was inaugurated. He left in 2021. What did he do during his 4 years in regards to suggesting legislation to deal with mass casualty events? We clearly had them while he was in office. If you think the right has a better answer, I'm just simply asking, what did they do? What did they try to enact to address mass casualty events? I have heard that the GOP has suggested hardening schools and Biden has come out strongly against them. Guy Whittington, like I just suggested to you, Trump was in office for 4 years and there were plenty of mass casualty events taking place during his time. He took office with a Republican Senate and a Republican Congress. So it's not like mass casualty events started happening while Trump was in office or after he left. If hardening schools was the proper answer, if that's what the Republican Party thought would solve this problem, every school in red states should be hardened by now. Why are they not hardened? I mean, you're suggesting that that's what the right thinks. Why haven't they done this? I mean, what happened in southern Texas, that's in a right-wing state. So I'm asking the question, what is the right doing to help prevent this from happening again? Looking at the comments, fact of matter. Okay, second Declaration of Independence. Timoteo, that is not true. But you can come in the box and talk about it. That's not true. Oh, okay, I made a mistake and threw my video. Okay, nothing. Okay, and G. Mo says the Republicans are doing nothing. Actually, he done some damage only, of course, like, for example, the attack on the Capitol building. So you're suggesting that during the Republican time, he absolutely done nothing. Well, let's see what Paul Harvey says. We're going to bring Paul Harvey, a new caller, to the box. Good evening, Paul Harvey.
Hey, what's up, man? So, we've had mass shootings for a very long time. Columbine is a memory. Sandy Hook, and Obama was in office during that time. And in 2009, Obama had a 60-seat filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, and he had the lower house and the White House.
That is true.
So they could have done anything they wanted.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm here, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me, sir?
Okay. You said you're pointing out that Obama was in office. There were mass casualty events. He had a Republican House and Senate. And continue? What is the rest of the point you were making?
No, he had a Democrat. He had a filibuster-proof Democrat majority.
Yeah, I mean, he had. Right. Yes, he had a Democratic House and Senate. My fault. Okay, so what is the point you're making?
So every single Democrat idea that they had could have passed because nobody could have stopped it on the other side.
True.
Okay.
True.
So I'm curious as to, we're talking about Trump. Trump never had a 60-seat filibuster-proof majority. The Democrat Party is the only ones that ever had that, and they've had it 3 times.
Okay, and that's fair enough. And that's fair enough. I believe after Sandy Hook, Obama did try to, he did discuss banning assault rifles. So whatever majority he had, he couldn't do it then because he did talk about doing that, and he failed at it.
Well, I don't know if when Sandy Hook was. I can't remember the date, but I'm just saying.
It happened during it happened during the Obama administration, and he did talk about
he might
banning.
Not have had that.
Okay.
He might not have had the majority at the time.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm just letting you know that if Obama had a 60-seat majority, you already know what he's going to try to do. He's going to try to limit firearms. We've already addressed that the right does not believe limiting firearms is going to work. But if you ask the question, well, what did Obama try to do? I'm going to bring up firearms. When I talk about the right, that's the question I'm asking. What has the right tried to do?
But the right's never had that majority, though. If the right had the 60-seat filibuster-proof majority, I'm sure they would have done everything. Hopefully, they would do everything that's on that wish list.
Fair enough. Okay.
And so, that's my thoughts on it. And I study this stuff for a long time, and it goes right along with the other 2 times that the Democrat Party had a filibuster-proof majority back in '66 and also in '77 when Carter was in and Joe Biden was there. And if you look at the legislation that's been crafted and passed, and there was also a Civil Rights Act of 1959 that JFK tabled that amendment and let it die. And then, but the Democrat Party doesn't really have a great record on anything.
But see, here's the question. What you're suggesting is because Trump did not have a 60-seat majority, then he should try nothing. Just because you don't have a 60-seat majority, the question of what did he do still applies. You don't need a 60-seat majority to at least attempt something.
I don't know what he talked about. He was actually talking about, I remember him saying something about the 18-year-old can go defend the country and buy a gun that is the same type of weapon used in these mass shootings, yet he can't buy a pistol. So that was, I mean, it's kind of odd. And Canada just banned pistols after this, and pistols weren't the problem, in this instance. So it didn't make any sense.
So what? So in other
I
words,
don't
what
know.
you're saying. So in other words, what you're saying is even Trump went for guns. He was, or he is suggesting it.
No, no, no,
Even
no, no,
Trump was
no, no.
taking the liberal way.
He was asking the Democrats in a meeting about that, where he's like, well, why can't this kid have a handgun at 18, but he can have an AR at 18? He didn't
Okay,
like
but
the legislation. But I
okay,
don't know
and
what
that's
Trump would have done. I don't think anybody should do anything. I think that we should harden our schools and make sure that nobody can hurt anybody. But I don't know what Trump did or didn't do.
yeah,
But it was so anti-Trump anyway, and he was stuck with the bullshit Russia collusion thing and what have you. I mean, it was just always something,
okay.
And I don't know how he got anything done, to be honest with you.
Well, he appointed 3 Supreme Court justices. He built the wall. He balanced it. He helped the economy. He got plenty done. I mean, the fact
Oh,
that
he
you're
did.
being, yeah. So the idea that he could not do anything on this doesn't make a lot of
Well, I
sense.
don't know if
I
he
mean,
could or couldn't. I don't think he wanted to. I mean, I think he talked about hardening schools a little bit or what have you. But look, man, all I know is we need to harden the schools. That's my solution. I don't know what Trump did or didn't do. I don't think
okay.
we should
Well,
do anything.
let's take Trump out of the picture. Just like we talk about Chicago's gun laws, the liberal presidents do not have nothing to do with Chicago's gun laws. It's local politicians. What are the
Right.
local politicians in right wing areas doing to protect the schools?
I don't know, but as I understand it, the teachers unions don't want. They want resource officers, but they don't want just armed people, and a lot of them don't want to carry. And I've talked to these teachers about that a little bit. I've talked to a few teachers, and the one I talked to was adamantly against it. And then another one I talked to, I had gotten single again, and so I talked to this teacher on some type of date or what had dating site or whatever it was, and she was telling me that they encourage them to take some type of medication like Zoloft or Prozac. They tell them that they need to do that when they become a teacher. And that was crazy,
Oh
right?
my
She's a
God.
teacher in Memphis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So I
very
don't,
crazy.
yeah, it's wild, right? But and I'm
Okay.
not a Republicrat is what I like to call the Republicans, because they
Okay.
tend to suck. I couldn't stand Bush, and but in my home, look, this is where it boils down to me. Okay, I've brought up poor, orphanage, foster care, what have you, poor me, right? However, every time
Okay.
the Democrat Party has had the ability with a 60-seat filibuster proof majority, which the Republicans have never had, and they had it 3 times. And instead of in 1966, I'm sure I don't have to school you on this. They pushed people to the inner cities and talked about the Great Society, and then they went after the nuclear family and what have you. And what they did. I'm sure you know. And then in '77, Biden.
Well, let me make it clear. Being an African American, you probably don't want me to talk about 1966. It doesn't matter which party. If I start talking about 1966, it's not going to sound real good.
Well, I know, but that's when the evil. I know, and look, I talk about Robert Byrd a lot. I don't know how well you're versed and how much you know about Robert Byrd, but that guy was responsible
The late,
for
yeah,
many.
Senator Byrd. I'm aware of the late Senator Byrd. Yes.
He was a recruiter for these people that were terrorizing these communities. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a
But
paid
well,
membership.
let me.
He was a corporate guy.
Yeah, but the aims at Senator Byrd does not work as well when you look at the last 10, 15 years of his life, where Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and I believe Obama was at his funeral and they eulogized. I mean, he had made
Yeah.
up with the African American community. And if you notice,
Well,
when you
no,
hear
they
folks
never
bring
left
up
it.
the racist, hang on, hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay.
When you hear folks bring up how racist Senator Byrd was, notice the year he passed away and notice the years they're talking about. And you'll see there's a huge gap towards the end of his life that you don't hear them talking about. It's all stuff that's way back because he made up with the African American community. Just look at the years of the stuff you're talking about and look at when he
Okay.
passed away in 2010 and notice that gap. What was going on during that gap is that he was actually amending things with the black community.
Well, no, they never left him. I mean, he got over 90% of the vote every time he was up for election, and that was when he was recently from the KKK. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter.
Okay.
He always got over 90%
Okay.
of the black vote. Yes, sir.
Okay.
He
Well,
sure did.
I'm just simply saying that the civil rights leaders of his time, the Jesse Jacksons and Al Sharptons and all them, he was the NAACP. He was in good with all of those by the time he passed away. So
Yeah,
whatever he did, it was enough. Go ahead.
he was responsible for he recruited people to do all those terrorisms that were perpetrated. That was his job. He was paid to do that. So everybody he recruited, he's an accessory to whatever they did and whatever he did.
Yeah.
And people,
I don't deny that. Yeah, if he committed atrocities back in the 50s and 60s or 70s and he recruited people, yeah, but unfortunately whatever he did, they were not able to tie it to him, and he clearly made amends toward the end of his life. So it is what it is.
Well, brother, it's like this to me, man. Look, so they trot out David Duke all the time, and that guy was a half-ass member of the KKK. Robert Byrd was responsible.
You talking about the guy? You talking about the David Duke that Trump said he did not know? He didn't know who he was?
Yeah, I mean, I knew who he was because they trot him out all the time and say he's a Republican. So they just try to attach any Republican to the KKK, which they did to Bush and everybody else. But I mean, it's all good. I mean, I think racism is depleted now because of everything's racist, every single thing, no matter what you do. I mean, I'm a.
So let me ask you this question: do you believe when Trump said, "I don't know who David Duke is," considering you know who he is, do you believe Trump actually did not know who that guy was?
I have no idea, man. I really don't. I mean, if he said it, then I look. When I remember when Obama first got elected, I was like, wow, this guy's got a mandate. He's a messianic figure. He can do this. He can do that. He can do the next thing. He can really bring America together. And America never came together.
Okay.
You know.
Did you vote for him?
Obama, no. I didn't want his policies. No, sir.
Okay, so even if he said he could bring America together, he wasn't bringing you on board from day one, is what you're saying.
Vote for him. I didn't vote for him. However, when he got elected, I was like, okay, let's see what this guy can do. He's got all this political capital. And, I expected some stuff to move around, but he decided to hang his hat on the ACA and DACA and what have you. So I just, and I think that the Latinos are becoming the preferred minority. I mean, we got Joe Biden talking about giving reparations to people that were separated from their kids. And because we didn't know if the cartels running whatever.
Okay, one of the questions I would say is how are liberals getting preferred minorities? I thought that the African Americans were going to walk away and go vote Republican. What happened to the walkaway party?
What I said, you misunderstood me. The Latinos are now the preferred minority. I mean, who did look? Okay, so it's so important for Biden to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court even though we really couldn't identify what a woman was. So why wasn't it important for Obama? Why wasn't it important for Obama to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court? He had Kagan, Sotomayor, and then he nominated Garland. He nominated an old white guy, a white lady, and a Latina. Well, so why wasn't it important for him to do that? Why was it important for Joe but not him?
Okay, fair question. I gotta move it on, but I'll respond and give you the last word. I guess the way I would respond to what you're saying, why wasn't it important for Obama to do it? When Harriet Tubman first escaped, it took her time to decide if she was going to actually go back and get others. She was just happy she got there. Obama was the first black president. He cannot go and start doing things like helping Chicago, helping black people, nominating. He would look like a racist. But I get your point. I'll give you the last word, and I got to move on.
Yeah, well, I just don't think that the Democrat Party has any excuse because they've had the filibuster-proof majority, which meant they could do anything they wanted to do to help anybody they wanted to help, and they really chose not to help that much. I mean, the things that they promised all these years, over and over and over again, then once they get the power to do it, they don't do it. And it's 66, 77, and 2009, the first black president could have done anything he wanted to do. But so it's disheartening to hear them talk about how great it, how what they're going to do and what have you. And BLM having the end to the nuclear family on their platform and whatnot, and that ties into the Democrat Party. But anyway, it was nice talking to you, man. You take care, brother.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. You too. You have a good evening. Hey, I totally invite dissension. I invite folks on who disagree. I make it clear my primary audience is MAGA. Now, obviously, when he suggested that, when Trump said he did not know who David Duke was, and he was like, well, I believe him. Well, Trump also said he didn't know who Stormy Daniels was either. So, I mean, I don't know. I can't personally, the gentleman that just called in said he knew who David Duke was, and he believes that Trump did not. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I mean, I'll let the man speak. I'll let the man speak. Let's go to Frank. Let's see what's going on. And by the way, folks, getting back to the original topic, that is, what is the GOP? Hang on a second, Frank. What is the GOP doing to help children? And I don't want to come across as a bashing GOP statement. I'm asking this from a serious standpoint. We know the liberals, they believe
ain't helping
banning
nobody,
guns.
brother. They ain't helping nobody.
Hang on. Okay, hold on a second, Frank. Hold on, because I'm giving this spiel to the audience. I'm asking. We know the liberals believe that banning guns is what would help the kids. Obviously, the right thinks that that's not the right thing to do. So, knowing what the right thinks is the wrong thing to do, we're asking what is the right wing party doing in terms of what do they think is the right thing to do? Frank, what do you believe the right wing is doing to help at least alleviate mass casualty events?
Well, see, I don't believe that even the Republicans or the Democrats are helping. I believe that it is up to us people. And as a father, I'm going to tell you, and this is something that should be spread, dude. Every father in America should donate one day a month to their school to be in there. Do you know what it would do? It would help with bullying. It would help with teachers stopping the pedophiles. We would know what was going on in our schools. We're dads. You can't send the moms, they're hotheads. Moms will scream and yell and it will turn chaotic. You know that and I know that. But us dads, we could go there like rock stars, dude. We'd be all up in the hallways. We'd be there to help them. If every dad, and you can look this up, there's programs where schools do this, where the dads donate like tons of their time to these schools. Yeah, I mean, how many dads? Think about how many classrooms are in an average school. How many classrooms?
How many classrooms are in it? It depends on the size of the school. That varies greatly.
Okay, so how many fathers would be in the hallway for fights, bullying? I mean, everybody. I mean, there would be more cheer. There would be. The teachers are too busy trying to teach.
Let me ask you this question. Have you seen what happens when you allow parents to watch a little league game and they don't like the call an umpire made? I don't know
Like
if
I
putting a
said,
lot of parents in the school together would be a good idea.
hey, my man, as a man, we know we don't act up around other people because our woman will come down on us. If you leave the woman out of the situation and you put us men in there, and it's not to be sexist or anything like that. We're just not hot-headed. Most teachers are women. You put women in with women, they get hot-headed. I mean, we've seen all of the TV series, dude, with the basketball wives, and we've seen all that, dude. They bicker and fight. You put us men together, dude, we get along. We show kids positive influence.
I must say this is the most unique approach I've ever heard. But let me ask you this question: if you got
It actually works.
Okay.
It actually works. If you look up watchdogs in Washington State, and this is no lie, dude, there's been a lot of dads that have done this, and it helps with bullying. It helps with the kids in school. The teachers have one. Think about our kids, dude. We don't know what our kids do. My kid probably goes there and he's mouthy to the teacher. But if I was in the classroom, my son knows to hold yes, sir, no, sir. Around mom, we can be asses.
Hang on, hold on. Let me get something in. You're throwing a lot out there. And by the way, folks, I'm trying to get to 10,000 likes. Show your boys some love. Tap the screen. Okay, what do you say, Frank, in regards to a comment in one of the comments from Nicholas Thomas? He says, most fathers are working. I don't have time to be in my daughter's school. How do you respond to that?
I say, dude, why did you have a kid if you can't donate one day a month for your child? Honestly,
What?
1 day a month for every father out there. Think about it. I mean, even if you cut the population in half, dude, how many fathers is that in the schooling system?
Okay, let me give you a follow up.
And
Let me give
every
you a
dad
follow up.
should be involved in their sons or
Okay,
daughters'
all right.
lives.
Okay, let me give you a follow up. You said 1 day a month. That's 12 days annually. Do you
Yep.
believe in do you believe the employers would give their employees an extra 12 days off per year?
I believe, dude, you know what? Family becomes before business. And if you work for somebody, personally, sir, I wake up and my boss knows that I do not even show up at work and I paint houses till 9:30. I am off by 5:30. And I am only
Okay.
going at 9:30 because I put my son that's 15 years old on the bus every single morning. You can ask the police everywhere I live. I am there to make sure my son gets on the bus. I make sure my son gets off the bus. My kids come before my money. I don't put
Okay.
myself in that situation where, hey, I just took a loan out for $70,000 and I make bullshit money and my wife needs that car. No, my wife doesn't have a $20,000 rock. She doesn't drive a fucking $40,000 car. I don't put myself in that situation where I'm controlled by those people. And every person out
So
there should be.
so
And
you're
once you
so
stop
you're
giving them control, you'll have
okay.
control.
Okay, so your take is we should have every father spend 1 day in the schools to protect their children, and no mothers. Mothers stay out of it because mothers are hot headed. That's your. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, and think about this. Most men on the average of $18 an hour, and let's go up to $30 an hour. What are you losing a day? To go spend a day and make sure your kid's safe, and every dad does this. What are you spending? 100, 200, 300? Even if you make $100 an hour, what are you spending? 800? If you make $100 an hour, you can't spare 1 day to go hang out with your kid, watch how his school's going every month. Make sure that your predecessor is good. That's the way I
Okay, well
look at it. I make
let
sure
me
that
let
my
me.
son says yes sir, no sir, is well
Okay,
respected, and
all
won't
right.
shoot up a
Let
fucking
me
school.
let me. Yeah, I'm with you on that part, but let me ask this in regards to the folks listening in the audience. The caller here respectfully is suggesting that fathers, not mothers, every father should spend 1 day a month in school patrolling or whatever, walking the hallways in defense of the children. In the audience, I'm going to ask you in regards to this gentleman's idea, dislike or like? How do you feel about what he is suggesting? Do you dislike his idea or do you like it? I'm just taking an impromptu poll. And there are folks who are saying that they do like your idea, but I just want to see, now I do
It
question in regards to
Mom is
employment.
everything.
You're
Mom,
saying,
I'm not being sexist because mom is everything. Mom makes sure dinner's cooked. Mom makes sure that kid has clothes. Mom makes sure everything. What do us dads do? We provide money. That's so is that really what men want to be known as? Is we just provide money for our children? But yeah, we want the rights when it comes to child support and all that. Make an initiative. Show that us fathers are like us mothers, because, I got daughters, dude, that stay at home 24/7 with their children. The two of them have their kids, they stay at home. I'm all for that. The dad's off working, makes the money, does all the things, but he's never around. And, I see my grandkids, dude, I see them lacking and they hold on to me because I'm the male model in their figure. You know,
okay.
women are
Well,
known
I
as
will say
beauty.
this.
Women are known as beauty, and men are known as beast. And what does every man grow up to know? He wants to know that he is badass. He wants to know that he's a beast. And in order to have that and have it controlled to control a beast, you actually have to pay attention to it. You can't just send your
I
beast out
will
there, dude.
I will say you are about as you fit the definition of an alpha male. You are one true alpha male. I can hear it in your spiel. You would definitely fit the definition of an alpha male. Okay, listen,
I
I'll
stay
let
a
you ride. I
lot
just got to
out
move
of
it on. Go ahead.
I
Somebody
do
said
stay a
wow
lot
was
out of the
Mississippi.
public. You are actually my first person that I've ever talked to. I stay a lot. I have no friends. I have no other than my family. I don't let friends come around me. They bring problems. I only have money and life to build and have good times with my kids and all of that. I don't have time for
Well,
other people and all that. But the way the world's
if
going is we're going downhill fast,
yeah. Well,
very
if
fast
that
to a
works,
war.
there's nothing wrong with that. If that works for you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But listen, I gotta wrap it up, man. I gotta move on. I appreciate you coming through.
All right.
Hey,
It was great
glad
talking with you.
absolutely, and it's real good to have you as a first time caller. I'm here every night from 7 p.m. Come on back through anytime. Your comments will always be well respected here, whether I agree with them or
All right.
not. You will always get your point across. There is no censorship here, unless you set off TikTok. But yours truly,
Yeah.
you'll never be censored here. You get your point across.
Well,
So, and I think
that's
you
a
did
blessing. We
tonight.
all have our opinions.
Fair
All
enough.
right.
All
Have a
right,
good
you have a
one.
good night, man. You too. Okay.
I asked for an honest assessment, an impromptu poll of sorts. In the audience, the response was overwhelmingly in favor of what he was suggesting. There's a few folks that said it was unrealistic, but I don't think I think maybe one or two folks said that they disliked it. Now, I'll give some disclaimers. My audience is predominantly right wing and predominantly male. So I would have to talk to some liberal women and see if the same results come out of it. But from the audience that I normally partake in, and like I say it on every broadcast, my preferred audience is MAGA. And with MAGA comes a lot of men. But yeah, I mean, there definitely was no shortage of folks in the audience watching that thought
It was a good idea. Fair enough. Let's go on to the next caller. Joby. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
mute. Okay, well, he dropped out. I don't know. He was on mute and he dropped out. Okay, I'm a Iberservative. I don't know what that is. I neighborhood liberal women. Yeah, if I had liberal women on here, it might be a different.
So let's try this again with Joby. You came in, you were on mute, first of all. So unmute your mic. You're still on mute. So unmute your mic, and we'll see what happens from that point on. But you're showing up as muted. So if you are muted, I can't hear you. So try to unmute your microphone there, Joby. You are in the box. Can't unmute. And that's a problem because I can't speak to you if I can't hear you. I don't know what else to say, sir. There's nothing I can do, but you are muted. So, all right.
I'm gonna have to move it on because I can't hear it. And the box is still a cross between a liberal and a conservative. That's what an an iservative. You said, okay, all right. Some folks will say that I tend to be a moderate liberal, and I can see the light on a lot of conservative policy. So maybe you're describing me as well. I don't know. Let's see if we can. Joby, we'll go back to you in a second. I'm going to bring.
I believe Casey is the name here. Am I correct? Casey, was that the name?
Carrie.
Carrie, my fault. Okay. Welcome back, man. What's going on?
Not a lot. I don't really have a lot of time to look into all these shootings and stuff, but when I do find time, I do. I've talked to you about it before. That one in Uvalde. Apparently, this 18-year-old kid went and spent, from what I can gather, anywhere around $9,000 to buy the stuff that he had to commit that heinous bullshit. So where does an 18-year-old kid with no job, no credit, get the money to do that?
Well, did he have a trust fund? Did he have some really nice family members that were willing to give him? I mean, yeah, I don't. It's not only do we want to know where he got the money, but I would have to ask at 18. It just seemed like more. I understand my audience, and I understand folks are definitely strong Second Amendment supporters, but it just seemed like at some point something should trigger a red flag and make folks ask a question. And the way we have things set up now, you can do quite a bit without anybody having the right to ask you anything. Did I lose you? Carrie.
Sorry, I had a phone call come in there. Sorry,
Okay.
I missed what you said. Say it
No,
again if you don't mind.
what I'm saying, yeah, what I'm just simply saying is it's amazing that, like I said, my audience is strong Second Amendment supporters, and that's fine. They're welcome to be that way. But it's amazing when you talk about how much money you spent that an 18-year-old can spend that much money making purchases. And there is literally no legal right to ask him any questions at all. I mean, even though that to me would be as much of a red flag as I could ever see. I mean, because I would first think that he's buying it to supply other people. I mean, you're 18 and you're purchasing this much stuff. I would think that maybe a crime boss or maybe some criminals in the neighborhood is giving him money because he's a legal gun. This is what would happen in Chicago, and that's the reason I'm saying it. In Chicago, you do have folks who, make money on the criminal market and will use that money and hand it to somebody and get them to purchase firearms for them legally so they would get them on the street. An 18-year-old doing something like that, that would be the first thing that come to my mind is he must be supplying criminals with weapons. But the way we're set up now is we can't ask him any questions.
Yeah. That being said, I would just have to say he's got an accomplice at that point. But in other words, somebody pushed him to do that. But anyway, another thing I noticed, I've gave you my opinion on the police, but apparently a border patrol agent, he had a kid and his wife in the hospital or in the uh, school. He was in a barbershop getting a haircut. He took the
Yeah, I heard about that.
yeah
Did he have a gun?
yeah
Yeah.
he took apparently the barbershop had a shotgun or something. He took that, went into the school, went and got his kid and his wife, brought them out, then went back in. See, that I don't. A lot of people are calling that guy a hero. In my opinion, he's not a hero, and the reason I say that, he went straight for his wife and his kid, so he was selfish. He should have went straight for the threat. You don't go for your wife and kid. Your wife and kid are not the threat. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, there is no good Samaritan law. Hey, listen, if a mass casualty event breaks out and you save your own family, maybe you're not a hero to your neighbor, but you're a hero to your family. I mean, there's no law requiring you save. And this is why
That's,
folks like myself, this is why folks like myself question whether armed teachers would be any good, because at the end of the day, most folks think about self-survival and that only. There's a lot of teachers that may pull out their firearm and use it to walk down the hall and exit the building and make sure they're not shot. But it may be a case of damn those kids. I'm just trying to get out myself.
yeah, but in each one of those shootings, didn't they get unalived for trying to protect the kids? I think they would have rather had a firearm so they could protect them versus just themselves. That's just the common sense.
Well, at the end of the day, it's going to be optional for the teacher. You're not going to have any law that's going to say a teacher making $30,000 to $50,000 a year absolutely has a duty to protect children. It's going to be optional. Now, there will be teachers that will be brave enough to do it, yeah. But just like the police have shown in Texas and in Parkland, Florida, plenty of folks are going to be like, oh, hell no, I'm not going up against a guy with an AR-15 and body armor with a pistol. I'm out of here. There are going to be plenty of folks who are going to do that.
I don't know. They tried without anything, so I mean I'm talking about the teachers that were trying to protect the kids. So if they tried without anything, they're definitely going to use a firearm to.
I'm thinking just like the overwhelming majority of concealed carriers or even open carry, the overwhelming majority of firearm carriers in America, if they're in Walmart and you're near the exit and you can hear gunshots and screaming going off in the back of the store, I would say uh, damn near probably 80-90% of most concealed carriers would get out of the store. They're not going to go looking through the store seeing if they can help the people that are screaming. Most people are getting the hell up out of there. And I think that teachers would probably be quite similar to that.
I guess we'll agree to disagree.
Okay. All right.
But
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, there's some heroes out there, no doubt, but I do believe that if you got a pistol on you and you hear rapid gunfire and you can clearly see the exit, I don't think most citizens are going to go running back up in the store, looking through the aisles, hoping not to get shot to engage a guy. I really do think
well,
most people would get the hell up out of there.
As a gun owner and as a I'm experienced in firefights. Turning your back to the threat is the worst possible thing you could ever do. If you've got a gun and you've got a threat, somebody that has a gun too, you have to equalize that and get rid of that threat, because just running for the exit, who's to say they're not hitting the side door exit in Walmart, like through the car? They got that parts.
So you can
You can get your
you
car work.
can you can exit cautiously. I mean, if you're hearing gunfire and it's clearly from the back of the store and you know that gunfire is not close to you, you can exit and look around. Now, yeah, maybe a chance that a guy's going to run out the back door, come around to the front of the store and catch you. But yeah, I strongly believe that most folks are going to go out of that exit. If they have a clear path to exit, or they can go back and look for the threat, putting their own life at risk, because you don't know where that person is. Just like he can't see you, you currently cannot see him either. You got to go navigate through the aisles and find this person. I don't think most gun owners are going to do that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'd say you're wrong, but I, I've heard of.
You actually think
Yeah,
most concealed carriers, if they were armed and they heard a mass shooting going on nearby them, you actually think most concealed carriers would go and try to perform a rescue?
absolutely. I hear about it all the time. In fact, it was an incident in a neighboring town to me. I don't know if I told you this story before or not, but apparently the individual lost a trial, and he lost a lot of money in the trial, and he felt, I guess, it like he wanted it, he wasn't it wasn't justified, and he went after people, and a guy like myself, just able to carry, was the one that took him down. Police were called. He got two people, but when he ran toe to toe with a 2A supporter, I guess you'd say, somebody who believes in defending themselves. Uh, he met his maker. So
Well, fair. Well, let me just say this, and folks can call me a coward all day, every day. I got a family, and if there's a gunfight going on, whether I'm in there with my family or not, I don't know what's back there. I'm just me, and I do carry. I'm not like overly trained. I mean, I know how to operate my weapon. I go to the range infrequently. I'm not going back through Walmart to come across some guy with an AR-15 and a pistol, or an AK-47, or even a couple Glocks and body armor. I don't know what's back there. And let me make it clear. Oftentimes the police don't do it either. And they are trained. Even the police, if they walk into a business and they hear shooting and screaming, even oftentimes they will call for backup before they go in there and do something like that. And they actually have a lot better equipment and a lot more resources than I do. I
I
just, yeah, I could. And, not, and
don't,
let me
I don't
say this also. Hang on. Let me say this also for folks that are in the audience
sure,
saying that, yeah, I'm a concealed carry and I would do it. Let's say you, Carrie, or keep, what you say your name? Not Carrie. What is it again?
Harry.
Carrie, okay. Carrie, let's say you heard gunfire in the back of the Walmart, and you being a concealed carry, you decided, I'm going to go and find this person and stop this. Let's say there's another carry on the other side of the store that thinks the same thing, and you guys meet up in the aisle at the same time. Now you two are taking shots at each other. I don't want nothing to do with that.
That depends. I guess that depends on the person. Uh, most most people that are have a little bit of knowledge with firearms, they can tell by the sound almost what type of firearms being used in a lot of cases, whether it be a rifle or a pistol or a shotgun. The
Yeah,
simple
and you're gonna trust that when you get back there, you're gonna encounter most people. You don't know who else is a good Samaritan. You don't know who the bad guy. You do not know what's going on. All you know is you hear bang, 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 and you're gonna go run into all of that. Like
you
I
hear,
said, I'm
you've got
that's a go ahead.
you hear bang bang bang, you've got a general direction right at that moment of where the shots are, so you know where that individual is. You know where you are. Most of the time you're aware of the store you're at, because you've been there more than once or twice. You should know where everything is, as far as a general location, so therefore you should be able to determine who is who and who is not, based off that
Yeah, and I would
simple stuff alone.
Yeah, and I would submit to you that a lot of concealed carriers are nowhere near that knowledgeable. And as far you know how they do the test with the police where a hostage jumps out, a bad guy, and they have to know how to shoot the bad guy and not shoot the hostage. I think there's a lot of folks when the adrenaline is flowing in the middle of a Walmart would fail that test and shoot the first person that jump out. There's no way I'm taking that risk. I get your point, but I'll let you wrap it up. I'll give you the last word. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could see they wouldn't be that knowledgeable. The only reason that I would run out of the store is because, one, I'm not going to walk around with my AR, but it would get me to my pistol would get me to my AR. Then I'd go back in with my AR. That way, they don't have fire superiority over me. And what I mean by fire superiority is, well, obvious reasons, larger,
Yeah.
5.5.
But they may have.
The
You got body armor in your car too?
No, I don't need body armor.
Okay.
I
Okay.
move, communicate live without all that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, I got to move it on, man. Come on back through.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Okay.
Keep it all the way. I see your comment, Lexington Steel. You made me laugh in the middle of that guy's conversation. I wish. No, I'm not Lexington Steel. Then you got two shooters, says 5-star. Yeah, and see, folks, let me also make it clear to you. Not only could you end up having friendly fire between two good Samaritans, the police who respond to the scene might shoot you too. There are police officers that have responded to chaotic scenes, and the police are going to shoot the first person with a gun. Now, you might think the police might yell, drop it, and give you all of these chances to realize. I can bring up Tamir Rice, the African-American that was in the park, the 12-year-old kid that had a BB gun in his hand. And the police showed up and shot the shit out of that kid within seconds. So you're in that business and you're looking through the aisles with a pistol in your hand, or like he said, an AR-15 in his hand. And let's be clear, AR-15s are incredibly demonized right now. So if the police show up to a mass casualty event or a report of an active shooter, and you roaming through the aisles with an AK-47, you getting shot. Or an AR-15 in your hand, you are getting shot. They're not even going to give you a chance to turn around. So I understand trying to be a hero. Heroes do die. There's a reason why they say the good guys finish last. I'm just saying. I can tell you a story in Chicago where a bouncer in a club, where Robbins, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, a bouncer in a club. There was a shooting in the club. The bouncer actually wrestled the gun away from the assailant. He was going to shoot the club up. The bouncer wrestled the gun away from the assailant. And when the police showed up, guess who they shot? The dude holding the gun. So I'm just simply saying, you're taking cover, you're crouched down in a Walmart somewhere trying to find the shooter, and the police are doing the exact same thing. The minute they see you, bang, bang. Cops still have to form game plan before entering on an active shooter scene. Forehand, Luke, not necessarily anymore. They're being told that if you have an active shooter scene and he's in there killing people, you got to go in. So that forming a game plan stuff is starting to become archaic. That's what's going on in Texas right now, is that they tried to form a game plan and
trouble for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you now. I got you. Go ahead.
So first of all,
is it Joby?
Some of the stuff that guy was saying was just the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I just have to call it out. He's going to go to his car to get his gun and then go get his other gun. Don't forget your cape, because he don't got no body armor. So, if that's his mode of operation, he ain't going to be around much longer if he goes into an active shooting. He's going to be the first to get shot. And you made your point.
I give everybody a chance to speak. Let me make it clear. Regardless if I agree with people or not, I do let folks speak. So, and I'm letting you speak, and you're cracking me up. Go ahead.
I got a feeling I know how he's going to die.
Okay.
No offense. I mean,
okay, give me a second.
His heart's in the right place, but
I'm with you.
And you are absolutely correct when it comes to the point. If you hear an active shooter and you go in there, your chance of getting shot not only by the shooter but by the police or another person with a carry-on is tripled. you're probably going to get shot by
Okay.
somebody. You know, somebody's going to shoot you, or you're going to shoot
Right.
somebody. You know, some grandma comes around the corner too fast with her cart, and you're going to open fire. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And the fact that people are saying now that good guns, people with good guns take care of the bad guns. The fact that these 20 deputies sat outside this school for an hour prove that the good guy with gun thing is a mute point. It don't work no more.
Okay.
Because you had 20 good guys with guns outside that school and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that point is mute. And as far as arming teachers,
there are heroes out there. In fact, there's surveillance video of a guy who did exactly what he suggested. There was an active shooter in Walmart, and I believe the guy was Asian, and he went exactly what this guy, but he was doing it with a pistol. He didn't go back to the car and get an AR or anything like that. But he was a good guy with a gun, and he was navigating, trying to get the drop on the shooter. And he was within, I guess a few feet. I mean, there's a clear surveillance video of this. He was within a few feet of potentially getting a drop on the shooter and did not realize the guy had his wife in the store and she was a trailing accomplice, and she shot the guy in the back, shot the good guy in the back and killed him. But he did exactly what that guy did. And it was two active shooters in Walmart, and the active shooter, his wife was in there doing the same thing, saw this guy trying to get the drop on her husband and shot and killed him.
Yeah, and you got to know that 99.9% of the people in that store are not trained to take on domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
They got no idea what's going on. And as far as arming teachers, so now you're telling me you got to go through 4 to 6 years of college, and you have to be trained to take on domestic terrorism in your school. So not only you have to become a teacher, you have to become you have to become trained to fight domestic terrorism. And what happens in that classroom when you have, those guys that sometimes those pilots of big airlines who had a bad day and they crashed that plane into a mountain?
I've heard of that.
So what happens when you have a disgruntled teacher who went home Tuesday night and found his wife with somebody and went to school Wednesday morning?
And folks don't talk about that, but that same thing with putting vets in school. We all think that putting vets in schools would be a good thing to do, but it could, a veteran could do the same thing. I mean, the good guy with a gun could also turn into a bad guy.
And what happens when you have a student attack a teacher who happens to be carrying in the classroom?
Yeah. I mentioned that. I definitely. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, if you just hand teachers firearms, you're going to definitely have to make sure that they have some form of training, because they can end up becoming a problem.
And what kind of firearm are you going to hand them? You're going to hand them a pistol to fight an AK-47 or an AR-15?
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm not saying don't do this stuff. I think there may be a potential for it to work in some cases, but pretending like there is only a net gain by putting armed teachers and armed veterans in school and there's absolutely zero that could go wrong is being disingenuous. There are definitely cons as well as pros to doing something like that.
We definitely need, my problem is, man, is I'm sick of the cycle. Mass shooting, thoughts and prayers, mass shooting, thoughts and prayers, mass shooting. I'm just tired of it. It doesn't work. And when you talk about gun reform, people just freak out. You're going to take my guns. That's not the point. I'm a gun owner. I'm a licensed carrier myself. The bottom line is we have 5 people right now in Congress, in Senate, on the GOP side who refuse to even have a discussion.
Okay, let me
talk about it.
Speaking of that point there, let me ask this question, and that's the whole point of this piece, is that as you can see, the piece is titled "What is the GOP doing for kids?" and let me frame it. The left believes that these mass casualty events, they believe that guns are to blame, and obviously the right believes that that's ridiculous. Guns don't have anything to do with it. That's fine, but the question is, so if the right believes that guns are not the problem, what do they believe is the problem? And
that's
if you look
exactly
at it, hold on a second. If you look also in regard, not only do the left believe that guns are the problem. If you look in left wing areas, cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, they're passing all sorts of gun laws because they believe the guns are the problem. Now, folks can point out that they don't think attacking guns is a solution. That's fine. But in right wing areas, considering that they believe the problem is mental health, video games, parent, what is the right doing in their areas to address what they think the problem is? That's the question we're asking.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, until we do something, until we stop listening to these bumper sticker worthy straw shit, guns don't kill people, people kill people, more Americans are going to die. They'll die even though the solution is so utterly fucking obvious. It really, it's a shame. So, I mean, what is your advice? After you say guns don't kill people, what are you following that with? Should there be no gun regulation at all? Should there be
I
no
think that would
addition
be
to
their
gun
answer.
regulation?
I think you answered that question. That's the same. Yeah, that is the answer they would give you. There should be no, what is it, shall not be infringed upon. So yeah, most of the right, my audience, they believe that you should not do anything to the gun laws, period, because they don't
Okay,
believe that's
fine.
the
Oh,
problem.
let me argue that. So if I say, you know what, bazookas don't fucking kill people, people kill people. I can have a bazooka.
Yeah, a lot of folks will say yes. A lot of folks will say yes.
You know, tanks don't kill people, people kill people. I can go get a tank.
If you can afford a tank, my audience believes you should be able to have a tank. And let me
I mean, and
show
I
it to you.
agree.
Hang on a
I
second.
agree with mental illness, man. But why not put a combination of both of those things together instead of one or the other? I certainly agree that there's mental illness involved, but why give someone with mental illness access to a gun? Why not combine the problem and find a solution to both the problem at the same time, and just saying instead of saying it's one or the other?
Yeah,
You know,
I
because
think I agree with the
five.
walk-in. I agree with the walk-in bubble and true bubble gum approach. And by the way, let me just throw this out there. In Tulsa, I mentioned this earlier. There was an active shooter at a hospital, and he did take out at least 4 people. That's happening right now. There was an active shooter in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is not a gun-free zone by any
Right.
means. Tulsa, Oklahoma is not a gun-free zone, and he killed 4 people. So that was a hospital campus. They did kill the shooter, but that's going on right now as we speak. Once again, another right-wing area. So I don't want to hear about gun-free zones and all that
And,
bullshit and gun
what do you
laws.
think? What
Go
do you
ahead.
think of the argument where people say, you know, we need more guns? That'll fix the problem. If that is the case, we this country here has the most guns in the world per person. I mean, we have more guns than people. So if your argument is more guns, the better, safer we'll be, then we should be the safest country in the entire world, and we ain't.
Yeah.
We are the only one with this kind of situation
Yeah.
that goes on every single day, twice a day, 3 times a day, so
Yeah.
much that it doesn't
Fair
even make the
enough.
news
All right,
anymore.
man. Well, let me move it on. I didn't want to bring it up.
All right, bro. Later, man.
Hey, and by the way, your name is it Joby? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Joby.
Yeah. Joby, okay. Yeah, you're
Yes.
welcome back anytime, man. I appreciate you coming on. This is the first time we talked, so come on back through anytime.
All right, man. Peace.
Okay. Let me see. My feed is kind of frozen here. Let me see before I do that. Chevy, I see you now. Texas made. I do see you coming in next. Let me see if I can get Chevy in here.
Gun is one thing, but have don't, says Scarecrow. Even if hang on a second, Chevy. Even if everyone had a fire, there's no law requiring them to carry it. So folks might have firearms and just be out in public without it. So you're never going to get 300 plus million folks to do the same thing in unison every day. Chevy, good evening.
Good evening, sir. How's it going today?
Chevy, doing real good, real good. Did you hear the topic of this?
Yeah, and I was listening to you a while ago, and I've got a rebuttal for you. You was talking about, teachers putting
Let's have it.
teachers in school, and you brought up the subject of Walmart and an active shooter in Walmart. Well, here's the difference between that. Just like with the 2 teachers that were killed in Uvalde, those teachers were in the classrooms with those kids. Anytime there's a lockdown at the schools around here, the doors are shut. Those teachers are in the same room with their kids. They would be literally the last line of defense between the active shooter in those kids. And
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, I
My
know
guess,
several of these teachers
yeah.
and the principal I played football with in high school. And I can guarantee you, you put him between kids and an active shooter, he would put his life on the line in a heartbeat.
My guess is if you start putting armed teachers in classrooms, the shooters are going to just kill them first. I mean, you take out your opposition, right? I mean, if you know that the teacher is the one that got the gun, then wouldn't that be the
Okay,
first person you would go for?
okay, if you and your assistant, was inside a classroom, you were a teacher, and you shut the door and backed up into the classroom with your students, are you telling me that when that door got kicked in, you wouldn't light whatever come through that door up?
Well, if you okay, I get your point, and I will say I would answer your question by saying yes if the gunman was already popping shots off in a hall. But if you're in
Yeah.
class holding a regular day of school and somebody kick in the door and you have not heard any gunshots, you're not just going to start shooting the person that's kicking in the door. It could be one of your fellow teachers that tripped in the hallway and just fell up against the door, and now she comes in the room and you don't started lighting her up. You can't just
Oh,
shoot people because you're
I agree completely with what you're saying. But anytime, and from what I can gather, doing, just reading up on things, but they were supposed to be on lockdown with inside the school with their doors shut, same way as it is here. Anytime anything, matter of fact, that hadn't been probably a month ago. There was a guy running from the cops here, and when he got off the interstate onto 84 East, that's going toward the school. The instant he got off the interstate, the schools went on complete lockdown.
So, do you think arming teachers would stop this? You think you
If they
think that
want to be armed, I think they should have the choice to be armed if they want to. Now, I'm not
I'm
saying force teachers to carry.
okay, but should they be forced to get training?
If they're going to be a teacher and they're going to take responsibility to carry, yes, that would be
Okay, so
part of
let's
it.
say
If you want to carry, you're going to have to train.
okay, all right, fair enough. All right. Listen, I'm not necessarily against having teachers carry a firearm. I personally don't think it's going to stop this. I mean, you may have some teachers that do stop the shooter, but I don't think it's going to stop shooters from attempting it, and I don't think it would stop shooters from successfully taking some lives. Maybe it'll be a case where a shooter would have taken 20 lives, and the teacher made it so he only took 9. But I do think the 9 will continue to happen. I don't think arming teachers alone is going to stop mass casualty events at schools.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to just like the guy that mowed down 64 people at a Christmas parade. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be. It's not the gun. I mean, in that instance, if he'd had a gun, he would probably use the gun. But he was upset and he mowed 64 people down with a car. I
Well,
mean,
but yeah, and I hear that all the time when folks saying you're picking up other weapons and things like that. But I say all the time, overwhelmingly, the criminals that commit mass murder, they're using guns, which shows you that if, like you said, they can use a car. Why don't they keep choosing guns? Cars are available, bombs are available. Knives are available. For some reason, the vast majority of them you keep using guns, and it's because a gun
okay.
is a
Well,
lot more.
if we're going to go that route with it, less than 3% of the of the murders that you were talking about, less than 3% are used with AR or AK or anything like that. Less
Yeah,
than
but
3%.
that doesn't.
The
Okay,
other
so you said
97% is handguns.
okay, but
And
that doesn't take away from what I said. Even though you're talking about long guns, I'm saying they keep using guns. Why do we not have more mass murderers using cars and using bombs? They keep using guns. Why is that?
because they can do a drive by with a gun and they can't do a drive by and keep going with a car.
So you're making it clear that using a car can be done, but it's more difficult to successfully do.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's the point I've
And
often
if you
made is
take the
that,
guns away, they're going to go to the next best thing.
and you made it clear that if they go to the next best thing, they may not succeed all the time because it's more difficult to do the job.
I mean, you're not going to go driving through the halls of a school, no doubt, but
Exactly my point. It would be a lot more difficult to score the same numbers that a lot of these folks do using other things. Not saying that they can't use other weapons, but yeah, you're pointing out exactly what I'm talking about. If you want to do a drive-by in the hood or you want to shoot up a basketball court and you can't get access to a gun, the folks on the basketball court, majority of them are going to survive. If you have to use a knife or a car or a bomb, you're not going to get as many victims. People are going to live.
and I agree. But a knife, a car, a gun, they're all tools. Each one of them is
Yeah.
a tool. And,
It's almost
as
like, go
me
ahead.
and a lady was talking on one of your videos, and at 8 years old, I was handed my first firearm. But I was taught from the time I was 8 years old that that is a tool that is to be respected. And
Okay.
from as my kids, I've got a 23-year-old, a 17-year-old that's fixing to go into the Air Force, and a 12-year-old. And right now, all three of them will tell you I can leave a gun laying out in my living room, and my 23-year-old will tell you point blank, you don't touch that gun unless you ask.
Fair enough. And that's all I'm saying. I agree that the firearm is a tool. I'm just simply saying, just like with any other tool, if you got a regular screwdriver versus a power drill, speaking of which, I mean, if I had to put together a shed that had thousands of screws, and I had to choose between this and something like this, I could probably use this and get it done in the same day. This is going to take me a lot longer. In fact, I may get carpal tunnel or something and have to stop using that. And that's the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, you can use another tool to commit murder, but your success rate is going to be less because more victims are going to get away. If you use a knife, for instance, more victims might survive. Any trauma surgeon will tell you that an AR wound is going to be a hell of a lot harder to save the victim than a knife wound, unless somebody really
Well,
knows
there
their way
was a
around the
guy in
blade.
Japan. There was a guy in Japan a year ago, took a sashimi knife and wound up killing 27 people before they could get him stopped.
Right. And notice
I mean,
how, exactly. And notice how when I bring up firearm, I can give you case after case after case that happened in America. And for you to pick other weapons that folks use successfully, you got to use the whole world because there's not a lot of cases where you can point to. You got to go to China for this, or you got to go. I can stay in the United States and I don't have to go I can give you all these examples from the United States. And for you to offer counter arguments, you got to literally use the whole world just to come up with enough of them. That should tell you something.
well, you know as well as I do, there's a lot of stuff that happens here in America that don't get reported because it don't fit the narrative.
Including
I
gun
mean,
crimes, including, you know how many
I
people that
agree, including gun crimes.
you know how many
But
people that get shot that don't make the news?
oh yeah, well, like I said, if we're going to compare apples to apples, then go by statistics. And by statistics, everybody's jumping on you don't need an AR-15. I'm sitting reading some of the comments. AR, assault rifles this and assault rifles that. Well, I'm sorry, less than 3% of that whole equation is actually done with one of them. The
Okay.
other
And I'm not
97%
arguing.
is handguns.
Yeah, you don't hear me arguing that point. I'm just simply saying I don't follow the narrative that if you get rid of firearms, you're going to still get the same murder rate by the populace using other weapons. I think if firearms didn't exist, and I'm not a fan of getting rid of all firearms, I'm just giving you my spiel. If firearms did not exist, there are whole crimes that would disappear, such as murdering police officers. It would be extremely difficult to take the life of a police officer if there were no firearms in the hands of citizens. I mean, they would have to die by those other methods you're talking about. And that would be very difficult to do that to an armed police officer. So the survival rate for cops would skyrocket. The same thing with armored car guards. If you drive an armored car for a living and you're in there with a gun and that money, for folks to be able to rob you without a gun is almost impossible. So you would have all sorts of areas where those types of crimes would disappear. The drive-by would go completely away. You know how many people die in drive-bys every year? All of that would just totally disappear. You just mentioned you would have a hard time driving down the halls of a school with a car. Committing mass murder in schools would be extremely difficult. So I'm just simply saying, without firearms, some crimes become almost impossible to commit.
Oh, I agree, but you know as well as I do, human ingenuity is an amazing thing.
Then we can deal with that when that comes, but that's not here right now.
But
Okay, all right. Well, let me move it on, man.
all right, brother, good talking to you.
All right, you have a good one. Okay, let me.
Flying knives says all hands are. You know, there are some folks who are really good at throwing knives, but the vast majority of folks are not going to drive by at 20 miles an hour and throw a knife out of the window and actually be able to take a life with it. And keep in mind, if you're throwing knives, you're going to hit the person once. If you got a handgun or God forbid, a long rifle, you can hit that same person multiple times. So even if you were really good at throwing knives, there's going to be a difference. Now, JP Parker's talking about ghost guns, and that is true. We are starting to reach the age where people are going to be able to make their firearms. However, we're not there yet. The overwhelming majority of folks in America do not have the tools, the equipment, or even the connections to get their hands on a ghost gun. That may change in the future. That may certainly there certainly may be strides on that in the future. But right now, we're not at that point. I mean, take myself for instance. I own a firearm. I wouldn't know where to go and purchase a printed weapon. I don't have any resources for that. Mexico would just start smuggling in more guns. Pitbull, here's the issue, and you could be right about that. You could be right in saying that if for some reason they limited guns in America, more will be smuggled in. But the problem we have to look at is, are we going to do something? And it doesn't have to be firearms, for instance. It could be mental health or whatever. Are we going to do something? Or are we just going to say, let's do nothing because no matter what we do won't work? I mean, at the end of the day, if that is the mindset of no matter what suggestion is mentioned, somebody's just going to, what do they call it? Negative Nancy. Let's just do nothing because nothing's going to work. So let's just leave it as it is. Well, then we just need to get used to what's taking place. Get used to folks that are dying. Watch what happens in Canada, buddy. In KJF, we talked about the Canadians yesterday. I'm real curious. I will be doing exactly what you're suggesting, is watching what I want to see. I believe on yesterday's program, I asked, should we expect tyranny? Because that's what we're told in America. If you get rid of firearms, the country will become tyrannical. If President Biden is in office or President Trump's in office, they're just going to turn into tyrannical dictators. The only thing stopping them from committing acts of tyranny is the fact that you have a firearm. That's what we hear from the right. So the suggestion is somehow that Canada is due for tyranny. The people are going to rise up, maybe have a civil war. These are all the things we said that will happen in the United States. It's just going to turn into mayhem. And the only thing that stops Americans from just becoming atrocious and committing acts of mayhem is knowing that their neighbor has a gun. And I've said this several times and asked this several questions, or asked this question on several broadcasts. Are Americans that evil that the only thing that stops them from becoming outright monsters is knowing that their neighbor has a gun? Because that's how a lot of you folks paint it. If I didn't have a gun, it's just going to be American versus American riot.
Horrible acts. Texas Made, good evening.
Evening, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Man, you just reminded me of something my grandfather told me way back in the day when I was little bitty. He fought in, I believe, the Korean War. Man, it was so long ago. But he did tell me that a knife will kill you quicker than a gunshot will. And he had one of those long ass bayonets that he was showing me. It just triggered a memory. But you guys keep talking.
He believed that a knife will kill you quicker than a gunshot. Really?
Well, he was referring back when, back in the Korean War, back in I don't even remember when that
Okay.
was, but
All right. Fair enough.
he had a bayonet on his rifle. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, you just triggered that memory. So I believe I was probably about 2 or 3. I was pretty young. This is back way
Okay.
back,
All right.
back when Carter was in. Anyways, so you guys keep talking about the damage that the AR does. Here in Texas we have a feral hog problem, and a lot of people use ARs to go hunting with them. And
I watch those videos on YouTube all the time. And I was watching The
yeah,
View today, and Whoopi Goldberg made a statement that I know the right wing is going to hammer her for. She said that nobody needs to have an AR. She talked about the damage and AR-15s turning people to dust. She said some really ignorant things, and I'm like, man, the right wing is going to have a field day with her, because I do watch folks kill feral hogs on YouTube with AR-15, so I know they have other legitimate purposes other than just committing mass atrocities. And she
right.
doesn't know that. Whoopi Goldberg does not know that. And yeah, she said some really ignorant stuff today.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a powerful, like, it's not even like really powerful. It's just it's not there's the good control with it. You can shoot multiple times with it. There's not a lot of
What is the
recoil.
foot per second? What is the FPS of the air? Well, there's a
It
lot of
depends
different
on the
rounds.
ammo. It depends on
Yes.
the ammo. So you got 57 grain all the way up to like 72, I believe, the more expensive kind. So that determines your velocity, and I'm not really sure, to be honest. I don't have I've got a carbine that shoots 40 cal, and I plan on trying to use that against hogs soon, but I don't
Well,
really have it.
maybe, okay. When it comes to the damage that an AR-15 is capable of, I think you said it best. It really depends on the round, because there are some
Mhm.
devastating rounds that can come out the barrel of an AR-15. They can go through you and 3 of your neighbors. You got certain hollow points and dum-dums that explode in you. The notion that all AR-15s are just going to make you turn to dust, like Whoopi Goldberg said, is
Yeah.
crazy. But there are plenty of
It's
ARs that can do some serious damage to human tissue.
I mean, it's a really small bullet, and it travels through. It's better to use it at a distance than it is, up close, and that's one of the things that a lot of people that use guns, you wouldn't take that into a closed confined space, because you got a 20-inch barrel. People can grab that thing, and if they grab it, you don't have no control over where it's pointing now. And I don't know. Anyways, carrying on, I'm interested in your take about the media, because you just talked about the Oklahoma shooting. Did you hear about the West Virginia, where the man?
Somebody mentioned that last night. Yeah, that happened right after what took place in Texas, and a good guy with
Yeah,
a gun stopped. Well,
there's a
yeah,
good
I heard
woman.
about it. Somebody brought it up in here.
Yeah, it was a good woman. A man got angry. A 37-year-old got angry, came back, started firing into the crowd. Where she pulled out her handgun and turned around and neutralized the threat. Also, we're not talking about the 52 shot and 9 dead, but I'm not even going to mention that right now. That was a
Where
Memorial
that
Day
happened at?
total. Your favorite
52 shot,
place?
9 dead. Where?
Your favorite place, Chicago. That's Memorial.
One
That
one person shot 52 people and killed
no, no,
9
no,
of
no,
them.
no. That was total. That was total for the weekend.
Oh well, the reason
I
let me
mean,
let me
it's
make it let me make it clear, and I'll tell you why they don't talk about that. The reason, because you hear that all the time, certainly when it comes to racial arguments, why you guys only talk about when a white person kills a black person and you don't talk about black on black crime. That's a legitimate question. I'll give you the answer. Generally, you don't hear a lot of outcries about black on black crime, is because when a African American kills another African American, and they get caught, they go to prison. You don't have a lot of African Americans being told that was a justifiable killing or something like that. So if the killer
actually
actually go, hold on a second. If the
okay.
killer
Go ahead.
actually goes to prison and there's justice, there's not a lot to complain about. You don't if a white person kills a black person and they get prison time and they're arrested right away, and you don't see any protests. It's not about the killing. It's the lack of justice that they're complaining about. That's why you don't see Chicago making the news, is because all of the killers go to prison or they're being hunted down by police. They're not being let go with it. But go ahead.
Well, Actually, most of those homicides aren't never solved. So
Okay,
they're
but
either
they're not.
retaliated against, you know what I mean? So most of those, the violence in the gangs and I'm not talking about, the racial aspect of it. What I'm talking about is, why isn't the news talking about this? Why aren't they trying to use this as their case against the guns? Because that's basically what it boils down to. It appears that the mainstream narrative right now is about the gun violence in America. So why wouldn't they use that along with everything
Well,
else? Is what I'm
and
asking.
that's a fair question. We could point to how news has an agenda, because you're talking about, like in Chicago, there's a massive number of people that are getting killed. Why aren't they making a big deal of it? Well, I would respond by saying probably because the most people getting killed are probably not in Chicago. St. Louis, Memphis, Baton Rouge, all of those towns have a higher murder rate per capita. And when you watch the right wing media,
I mean,
you don't hear nothing about the cities that are in right wing states that have high murder rates. It's all Chicago. St. Louis
Alaska
has
per
had a.
capita is the highest gun violence, but I mean, would you rather go to Alaska or south side of Chicago? I
I'm not
mean,
talking about Alaska. I'm talking about St.
I'm
Louis
just
and Memphis,
saying.
not
You said per
Alaska.
capita,
No, no, no.
so
Oh, no. Here's what I'm telling you. The murder rate in St. Louis is off the chain. Per
yes,
capita is it's the murder capital, often well over Chicago. And when you watch
right.
right wing media, they don't talk about St. Louis at all, because St. Louis is not a gun free zone and it's in a Republican state. They don't talk about it. So I would ask you, if you truly care about murders, why aren't they talking about St. Louis?
This is why I'm asking. I mean, I'm just kind of pointing that out, that they're not using
They,
that as in their in their arsenal against the gun violence right now. That's all I'm pointing out. I mean, we can go against. I mean, there's four major cities that contribute a lot to the actual gun murders, and it's Baltimore, DC, Detroit, and Chicago. That's 25% of all gun murders per year, every year. I mean,
But if you
I
look at
mean,
the top 10 most dangerous cities to be in, it's going to be a lot of cities in right wing states. And you don't hear, like you said, when you talk to right wingers, they bring up Baltimore, DC, Detroit, all the
right?
liberals, all of the states. They only, if you truly want to address the issue, you got to address the issue as a whole, not picking places where your party is in and you're in the other part. They're doing it based on party. So my point is, everybody has an agenda. The
Yeah,
media has it, whether it's right wing or left winger. They're doing it based on an agenda. The right wing does not care about black on black violence. Otherwise, they would be talking about St. Louis and Memphis. They care
yeah,
about the liberals and attacking Chicago. That's why they make it sound like Chicago is the worst place on earth. But St. Louis and Baton Rouge and Memphis has actually a higher percentage of gun crimes. And
yeah,
they don't mention them at all on those channels.
yeah. I'm not really. I didn't even check those this weekend or anything like that. I just happened to glance through and seen 52 shot and 9 dead, and just wondering why it's not being talked about as much as everything else. I mean,
Right. And
that to me is a large number, and I just think it would, if you're talking about gun violence, you would bring everything up instead of just kind of cherry picking here and there, So
and I agree with that. And I agree with that. But I'm just simply saying both sides cherry pick. Both sides cherry. I mean, you know how many violent cities there are in America? You think the Bible Belt South, all those states down there do not have some extremely violent cities? You watch the right wing media, you won't hear about any of those cities being mentioned as a very violent city, because in those cities they don't have tough gun laws. You can easily get a gun in Jacksonville, Florida. You can easily get a gun in Phoenix or in Houston. But because there's lots of murders in those towns, well, let's not talk about that. Like, for instance, in Texas, what just happened in Texas with that school shooting down there, you had the governor in that state lower the law from 21 to 18 so that a person at 18 could get an AR-15. He used that law to legally buy that weapon and killed a bunch of folks. Then the governor goes on television and says the cops are heroes because they did a great job. The truth about the cops come out. He has to go back on television and say that he got lied to. Can you imagine a mishap of that proportion happening in Chicago and how the right wing would treat that?
I'm okay. Yeah. Let me address the one thing about the law in Texas. I don't think that the age was changed. That's a rifle purchase. It's not a handgun. Handguns are still 21. All he did was take there's an 8-hour class that you have to have for concealed carry or just open carry. You had to take an 8-hour class. He just got rid of that. That's all he did. That's pretty much all he did, because he, basically it's supposedly our constitutional right to have to keep and bear arms. So they're just honoring that right. So instead of
Well,
having an 8-hour
I guess
class at Uncle Dan's, you don't have to sit there and listen to somebody say, hey, if you're going to shoot somebody in your home, you need to kill them, you need to shoot them in the chest, and don't try to shoot them in the head, and then after all that, you get to eat lunch there, and it's part of the $400 that you have to pay, and then
well,
you get to maybe handle a gun for an hour. I mean, it's kind of useless. I mean, there's really not any type of. I mean, it says, hey, the pointy end right here. This is where the bullets come out. You don't want to point that to nobody. So
okay,
it's
okay. Well, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that what, in regards to what took place in Southern Texas, the state of Texas handled that poorly. That's all I'm saying. Even right now today, you got Tucker Carlson and them on television still pointing out that the police are not even being honest about what actually took place. If Chicago
yeah,
screwed up a mass casualty event that bad, the right wing would be hammering that. I mean, they really screwed that up down there.
yeah, I agree. I mean, something's not adding up. I know that they said that a teacher propped open a door. Now they're saying that she closed the
It's a
door, but it
mess.
didn't lock. I'm just trying to wait for everything to come out, because there was a
Yeah,
whole bunch of stuff
it's
that
a
flooded
mess.
us at the beginning, and I was not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. All the
Yeah,
conspiracy
it's
theories and stuff like that, and
yeah.
I wasn't going to touch that with the 10-foot pole. I was going to say I just sat back and kind of waited, and let everything kind of try to come out. So, I mean, this is my home state. I'm proud of it. So, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
especially
that's all I'm trying. All I'm trying to say is that where that happened at, there's no difficulty getting a gun in Texas. There's not a liberal in sight down there. It's a mess, and I'm just simply saying that the right would have a field day if something like that happened in a liberal state. I'll give you the
well,
last
yeah,
word. I do
everybody
have to
uses
move
it for
on,
their
but go
political
ahead.
gain, and I think that I don't know. It's wrong to do it on both sides. To be honest with you,
Exactly.
it's wrong, and we need to call out the hypocrites when they do it. I know that I know that Beto tried to come out, and while they were doing a press conference, and that's just, I mean,
Yeah,
let let
of
let them
course.
do a press conference, and
Yeah.
and then we can do this during the election. We don't need to do that right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
what Beto did is exactly what the right does to Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago. It's
yeah,
politics. I'm just simply
yeah,
saying, now that it's happening to right wingers, they're like, shit, this is terrible. I don't like this. So I
right.
gotta move it on, though, man.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right, you take care. All right, look, definitely appreciate call anytime, all day. Always a pleasure talking to Texas, man. We've talked to good caller. He is in Texas, apparently. So, hey, with his name Texas, man. What more can you ask for? Rochester, raised. Good evening.
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Um, I really, 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 really appreciate your podcast, man. I mean, the way you using it, and the way you give everybody an opportunity that's from coming from all different aspects, and I
Thank you.
just I might not have a whole lot to say, but I'm gonna just say a couple of things. Um,
Sure.
I was watching a video about the evolution of the AR-15, and the guy that created the AR-15 was trying to get military contracts. See, the sale of guns can happen in two different ways. It can be bought by me and you, or it can be bought by the government. So the
Okay.
most so the most profit that's made from any gun maker is when there's a contract from the government purchasing your firearms in case of a war. Now, in the case of the AR-15, AR-15 just came after the M16, which they already had contracts for the M16, so it was kind of late for the AR-15. Now, if you look at both guns take the same ammunition. Okay, there's a
Okay.
there's a 308 round and there's a 223 round. Now, the difference, which really blew my mind, that through ballistic studies and tests, they figured out that that 308 round goes through and through, and the 223 round goes in and creates cavity damage, blowing your whole
Wow.
back out. It blows your whole back out. So actually, the more powerful bullet is not the weapon. It's not the choice. They don't want a bullet going straight through somebody. They want to just dismember. The 223 round will tear you to pieces. It's worse than
Yeah,
the 308.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard this. Yeah, I've heard. I mean, obviously, you want the energy from that firearm to be delivered inside the human body. So, yeah, if you have like a full metal jacket around, yeah, if it's high velocity, it's going to pass through you and do more damage, or do less damage. You want the round to stop inside of the target. Not only does that help alleviate excessive collateral damage, because you don't want it to come out and hit somebody else. So, yeah. If you
right.
can make that round stop inside of the target, you're going to do a hell of a lot more damage. But go ahead.
So right. So a lot of the guys that actually buy AR-15s, they prefer the 308 round because you go to harvest your meat, you ain't blowing half of it away. Okay, you got a solid piece of meat to harvest instead of one side a little hole and the other side you got the you don't lost
I
half
get
your
it.
hunt.
I get it.
You don't lost
I
half.
get it.
You
Yeah, I
don't
get
lost
it.
half your hunt. Yeah. So, but my whole point is this. With that being said, I heard you say this yesterday, so I'm gonna requote what I heard you say. These weapons are
Okay.
meant to do. These weapons are meant to do the most amount of damage in the shortest amount of time. And
Okay.
it's crazy how Canada, which is a border across from us, decided to ban the sale, the transfer of handguns. They ban AR-15s, but all of this stuff that they've done. This is like when I look at it, they're doing all of that for something that didn't even happen in their country. And
Yeah.
when I say I salute this guy Justin Trudeau, man, this dude doing something in his country because and one reason why I think he did that is because if America banned firearms, what do you think Americans was going to do? Run right across the border to Canada and buy guns. So he 2 steps ahead of that. And I heard the
Wow.
guy say, and I heard another guy say, well, the Mexicans are going to bring guns into America. That ain't how it works in Mexico. In Mexico, all of the drugs and narcotics come across the border, and guns, money, and ammunition go back to fight the war against the cartels and against the military. Them guys over there got a war that they fighting on their own. They ain't sending no guns over here. All the American guns have flooded Mexico. So
So
this
what you're saying is that Americans don't have to be worried about guns coming from Mexico to America. It's actually guns going from America to Mexico.
exactly, and there's documents, and it's all documented. The average cash carrier they find taking money back to Mexico, they get these $25,000 guns that the guys got gold plated. All of them guns they got in Mexico come from here. All of them. The war on drugs that's being fought in Mexico is being fought with American guns. And them guys get high caliber. Listen, them guys, I don't know, because like I said, it's not, to me, the problem is our infatuation, our love for firearms. This is the greatest country in the world. And I do not understand why people feel that they cannot live in America on this soil and not feel safe. To me, and to know that guns are banned, man, is you serious? You know, and one thing they need to do. This is just my opinion. I might be blowing smoke. This might be just totally crazy. But I think I made a video about this on my page. It went viral. I said they should ban guns, bullets, extended vests, assault rifles, all of that. And if you get caught with any of that, it is an automatic 25 years in prison. And when I tell you, boy, you got to go look at that video I posted and all the responses I got back from that. Because we got to be serious about gun control. Because we can't be serious.
Is it on your? It's on your TikTok page.
Yes, sir. I posted the video, and the people that lobby for gun rights reported my video. They took it down. I wrote TikTok. They reposted the content, and then I went and reposted the video 2 more times and posted 3 more videos of the same content. All of it's going viral. All of it.
Wow.
I posted it. Now, I'm going to tell you something else I found out today that I did not know. Okay, you remember the young lady that lost her life at the Capitol building?
Yes, we talk about Ashley Babbitt.
Do you know who the officer was that took her life?
Yeah, he was I did a video on him. He was an African American gentleman. I don't remember his name right offhand, but I do know who you're talking about.
So to me, my understanding of this whole tyranny thing is that they think they're going to go to the Capitol, take over, and there's not real American patriots of different colors that's not going to defend this nation. Going to that Capitol building is going to cost some people big time. I don't want to say what kind of mission it is, but you don't listen. Donald Trump is the reason the National Guard wasn't there. So with our military, there's no way my son can be in the military and call me and say, Dad, they about to send us to D.C. If you there, go home. I'm gonna go against the wishes of something that I know that, I don't get it. Like they want to say, like Charleston Heston said, over my dead body. That was that in the history of America, that commercial was the worst commercial ever made. Because people took that propaganda and they ran with it until today, over my dead body. Man, don't you know as a legal gun owner, if they say hand them guns over here, you can have them. You can have everything. It's not worth a tactical unit coming to your home knowing that on paper you own 10 firearms. So I'm going to put my family in jeopardy. I'm going to put my kids in jeopardy. Let
me ask you this. I got somebody that has an opposing view, and I want to know if you'd be willing to speak with them if we keep the conversation civil.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, hang on a second. I'm just curious because I see Devil Dog is referring to what you're saying as false information. So, Devil Dog, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you disagree with this gentleman?
I disagree that it was Donald Trump's fault that the National Guard was there because he did ask for the National Guard, and Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C. turned it down.
Okay, now let me say this before I let Rochester come back. But in regards to Nancy Pelosi, she was in the Capitol building pinned down. How could she be held? It's like the teachers in the school shooting being responsible for calling in their own rescue. I mean, she's pinned down inside of there. If she doesn't make the call, or if something's wrong with her particular safety, there's nobody else that can do that. You're telling me Trump had no power to do that?
No, Trump asked for it because they knew there was going to be a rally. He asked beforehand to have National Guard there, and they ignored his request.
Why would he want National Guard if it's a peaceful protest?
Just because the whole because there was a big rally that was supposed to be there, and he requested it.
Yeah, but just because it's a big rally, how many big I mean, you had the Million Man March by Farrakhan of all people in D.C., and he didn't even call for the National Guard. with a
But
million African Americans. Why would you call for the National Guard if it's a peaceful protest?
he called for it, and they
But
ignored
why?
the request.
I don't get why.
I don't either, but I'm just saying he did ask for it. That's what I
Okay.
was saying. He did it. He did request it.
Okay, and Brenda, I see your comment in the comments. You said he was afraid that Black Lives Matter and Antifa would show up and they would be a problem. At the end of the day, this is what happened on January 6th. It's been well over a year ago now. And to this day, Trump, Mike Pence, none of the Republican Party is claiming that Antifa or Black Lives Matter had anything to do with what took place. So your notion that he proactively thought Black Lives Matter and Antifa was going to be there leaves a lot to be asked, because now that it's taking place, you don't hear even the protesters that were there that day. You don't hear any of them in court trying to defend themselves by saying it was not us, it was Antifa or it was Black. Like literally nobody that was there that day on the Republican side is claiming that Antifa or Black Lives Matter had any significant hand in what went on. So that doesn't necessarily make any sense to me. But so you're saying, Devil Dog, that Nancy Pelosi rejected the National Guard. Any idea why she would do that, considering her life was being threatened?
Like I said, this was prior to it was prior to that date, because a lot of people were contesting the election results, and he knew that, and he wanted to make sure that there was enough security at the Capitol building. But Nancy Pelosi denied it. Google it. I promise you, it's there.
Okay. And somebody in the audience asked, where are you getting that information from? Is it just coming from Google?
Google it. I mean,
okay,
just Google it.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
All right, Devil, Rochester, are you listening?
Yes, I want to respond to what he said. If in fact he did call for the National Guard and Nancy Pelosi said no, with her life being under threat from a domestic terrorist act that is happening at the Capitol, why would his daughter, which this is documented, look at her and say, Dad, do something about this? Why people, hold on. Why would people around him, he got so mad with the vice president who was in the Capitol building, he wanted him to put hands and feet on him because he wasn't part of it. He wasn't going along with the shenanigans. Okay? No. So for me, it's like, it's clear cut. You know, this is the leader of the free world acting so in the history of this country. If we had to grade him, his grade is a E, and I don't mean for effort. He just failed. And what people don't realize is when say like Obama had 8 years in this. Obama had 8 years in his election term. The first. Hold on. No, I'm gonna let you talk, but you gotta listen. I can hear somebody talking.
Well, that's not me, bud.
Let me pause the video. I was doing while you guys were talking, and I was listening. Devil Dog suggested that I Google it. I did Google, and there are several sites, including Washington Post and the USA Today, that are disagreeing that Trump made any effort or made any suggestion about requesting the National Guard. So I did Google it, and that's what I'm playing a video of Nancy Pelosi denying it as well. But apparently there are several sites that actually say that Trump did not request the National Guard. But go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir.
He see, it's a whole, when people talk about conspiracy theories, you know, we got to talk about the Proud Boys. You know, we got to get to the bottom of all of these different communications that these guys, which are anti-government, listen, we in this country, not only do we vote to change laws, we vote to put people in position to help laws get changed. And if we get promised something by a politician and they don't give it to us, like Donald Trump promised the wall, okay? And in 4 years, he had a chance to build a wall. Okay, so for me, he psyched everybody out. Everybody, you know, and politicians do that. That's their reason. When people want to be the leader of the country, sometimes you got to look at it, look at their motive. Are they really trying to change the world, or are they looking for a power position? Are they? And this guy was the biggest power freak on the planet. Nothing about him was political. Nothing about him was helpful. How could you?
Okay, wait. Let me
Rochester, I
stop
do
you.
have I do have a question. I want to piggyback off of something that you said earlier about AR-15. So you don't think anybody should own an AR-15?
Well, like I said, the AR-15, the history of the AR-15 is the upgrade of the M14 and the M16. Okay,
No, it's
that
not.
gun. Hold on. It's on my page. Go look at my page. Follow me. Look at my page. You can
Okay,
go on. Hold on.
he can't look at your page while he's in an active conversation.
Mm-hmm.
State your
So
point
okay,
on here. State
all
your
right.
point
I'll
on
state.
here.
I'll state it. I
Okay.
can't remember. Okay, I'm saying this. The AR-15 is an upgrade of
Nope.
the M14 and the M16, which both take 308 rounds. All three guns take 308
Wrong.
rounds. And hold on, let me finish. Man, you can put a 38 bullet in a 357. You can't tell me what bullets don't fit. The
Okay.
322s and the 308 rounds, the only difference is the 308 goes through and through. But that 223, when it hits you, it slow down. So when it come out, it's a cavity. It creates a cavity. It creates cavity damage. Okay? So that's why people that hunt with AR-15s do not use 223s, because half of your deer going to be on a tree and the other half is you're getting half your harvest. So they use the higher caliber round that goes straight through the deer, which
Okay.
meant okay, go ahead.
I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm also a firearms expert, and you were totally wrong about a 308 being in an AR-15. AR-15 was designed by Armalite Rifles. It was patented by Armalite Rifles. They are the ones that made the AR-15. Then they sold the patent to other gun manufacturers so they could copy their manufacturing. And AR-15 is it's basically a mean-looking 22 rifle. It shoots a 223 and 5.56. That is it.
The most powerful 22 round I ever seen in my life is a 22.
I will say it is a powerful round.
Hold on. The most powerful round you can buy for a 22 pistol is a 22 long. Not the short, it's a 22 long. It's like 222, it's like 222 bullets put together.
So my question to you is, okay, being a Marine Corps veteran, 17-year-olds can go and serve this country and die for this country using an M16, but they can't come home and have an AR-15?
That's a good question.
A response to that. I got a response for that. My response for that is when you're in the military with that rifle, you got to show proficiency. You got to be trained. You can't leave the base on liberty or leave with that rifle. You're under a lot of restrictions with that rifle when you're in the military. When you come home, you can just go to the corner store or wherever with that. You don't need any training. You don't need any proficiency. You don't even need to show you know how to load it when you buy it at home. So there is some differences to that. But I'll let Rochester go with that one.
Now, my thing about the military is this. You have war zones where 17, 18, 19-year-old soldiers are told, we're going in here and do not fire when you're fired upon unless you're told to return fire. These kids in the military got way more training. Well, I don't get why people go to the military and come home and they got a shorter fuse than what they had in the military. You understand? Because in the military, you're held accountable when you shoot a civilian over there. Even if he had a bomb running towards you, a lot of times it goes through the military tribunal. Okay? But over here, these police officers should be held to the same, because this is a domestic military that we had called the police.
Well, I'm a former police officer, and you know,
Hold on,
I
so
agree
you was,
with
let
you
me
on
ask
one
you,
aspect.
so
That
you
the
was
Let
in
fact,
him talk, Rochester. Let him talk,
okay,
Rochester first.
I will agree with you on one aspect that this whole last shooting that happened in Texas, every law enforcement officer that was standing out in that hallway, not going in and saving those children, need to turn their gun and badge in and never wear their uniform again.
I will say, while you're talking about what happened in Texas, I got CNN on the television behind, and they're saying the mayor of Uvalde says that they actually had a negotiator try to call that guy that was in there shooting up the school. So he's in there
No.
blasting kids, and they actually tried to have a negotiator call him. So
Well,
just wanted
here's the issue. When there's an active shooter situation, after Columbine, they changed the laws, or they changed the tactics when it came to law enforcement after Columbine, right? So you would have to wait for at least 2 officers to get on scene, go in, and neutralize the subject. Well, because this started happening more frequently, they changed it to the first on the scene goes in, and that your job is to neutralize that subject. Save as many kids as you can, neutralize that subject. You don't sit out in the hallway and watch him in a barricaded room. You breach the door. If you get shot, you get shot, but you're saving lives. That is
Well,
the
no,
training that we've had.
I think the problem is the reason why they didn't go in Texas is because that active shooter, he engaged the police before the children, and he hit some police officers. He scared the shit out of them because he was actually hitting them, and that's what made them hesitate. Even though I agree with you saying they're supposed to go in, this is what I got into a big spat with one of my callers. I think his name was Snacks or something, and
Mhm.
he really tore me a new one, and it was because I was telling them the cops were scared. But
yeah, I
that
remember that.
active, yeah, that shooter in Texas, he hit more than one cop. When you start firing back and start actually hitting them, all that bravery goes out the window. When you start popping them, they ain't running up on you like that. Kids are
Mhm.
not. They are not going to be running up on. No different than if you hand teachers firearms and you have an active shooter in the school and the teachers see a bunch of armed teachers laying in the hallway bleeding out, they're not going to come run up on you. And that's what the cops realize, hey, this dude is a real genuine threat. We better stand down and call SWAT in with some extra equipment. And while they were doing that, he was obviously inside popping other students. But I gotta wrap it up. I'll
No, no.
give you guys both a
I
chance, but
want,
I gotta move on.
I appreciate you
I
being
want
civil, Rochester.
yes,
I
sir.
appreciate the conversation, sir.
Yes, sir. I appreciate everything. I wanted to say, well, we got time for me to say one more thing?
Make it
Okay,
happen. Make it happen.
all right. The worst thing that, the first thing that we learn from these mass shootings is the kids, they got these drills in these classrooms, from tornado drills to active shooter drills, you name it. So when the shooting started in Texas, I watched a 4-year-old kid come on CNN and say this: our teacher told us to hide. We practice this drill all of the time. So imagine those kids, or being taught that do the drill, hide behind the desk, and by the time before anybody can notice that you guys are in there hunkered down, because we're waiting on you. But imagine being hunkered down after being taught this damn drill,
Yeah.
but the police didn't follow through with
Yeah.
their end of the drill. So
And
who
that's
really
why
got?
I get it. And that's why they look so bad. That's why they look so bad. All right,
Oh, them
Rochester,
kids,
you have a good one.
have a good one.
Hey, have a good one, fellas.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And I got Rock a little bit early. I didn't mean to click him off that, but good conversation. But at the end of the day, okay, I've done those drills with my preschoolers. Samantha Anderson, how do you feel? I see you in the comments. You're saying, I'm assuming you're an educator. You've done those drills with preschoolers. How do you feel when you're doing the drill, knowing that you're giving preschoolers instructions to save them from bullets hitting their little bodies?
How does that make you feel as a preschool educator? I'm just wondering the notion that those little kids you're doing drills with, those would be the targets for potentially rifle rounds. Rifle rounds, because like the two gentlemen were talking about, something you would use to take out a deer or something being used on a 4-year-old. So I have to wonder how do teachers feel when they're performing those drills like that? Just looking at every school should do those drills. It's sad, but it must. That came from Sauce Check. I don't, as far as I'm concerned, from the liberal side of the aisle, I don't think this shit is going away. Drills, armed teachers, metal detectors, cops in schools. I think all of that stuff at the end of the day will be a stopgap measure. It's like putting a Band-Aid or a lot of Band-Aids on a massive laceration. Yeah, you'll stop it from bleeding a little bit, but it's not going to fix the wound. The wound needs stitches. It doesn't need Band-Aids. It needs stitches and staples, and they're putting Band-Aids on it. I don't think any of the stuff that we're flirting with, so to speak, for lack of a better term, I don't think any of the solutions we're flirting with are going to solve this. I just don't. And obviously we know the Second Amendment shall not be infringed upon. So, and let me give it to you from this way. I've asked several right wingers, and that's why the whole piece of this, the whole conversation was titled, "Is the GOP doing anything to help kids?" I've asked several right wingers. Now we know liberals think it's the guns. We know liberals want to ban guns or limit handguns or limit capacity magazines, limit assault rifles. We already know what liberals want to do. And as a liberal, I'm telling you, that stuff most likely has no chance of happening. So let's go to the right side of the aisle. What does the right believe? Mental health, video games is causing a problem, rap music, poor parenting, things like that, not disciplining your children. And I've asked several right-wingers, knowing that those problems exist, the problems that you're suggesting that is causing this stuff and leading to this stuff to happen, knowing that the system is currently broken, should you continue handing out firearms and letting 18-year-olds have firearms while these problems still are happening without any solutions yet? And their answer is overwhelmingly, yeah, keep handing out firearms even though this stuff is broken until we fix it. So that's why I'm giving you my spiel. I would say that based on that formula, we have a broken system, and the right wing is admitting the system is broken, and they're still saying to continue handing out firearms on that broken system. How could you conclude that this would not continue happening? Just listening to that formula right there. Continue handing out firearms, even though I think these are the problems that are causing folks to go crazy. The problems haven't been solved yet, but keep handing folks firearms. That formula should tell you there is no chance, zero chance that this will end. I got to wrap it up for the night, folks. Once again, I appreciate you guys stopping by. 7 p.m. as usual. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. For all those who did follow the channel, 100% definitely always good to see you guys here. And as usual, I do got to wrap it up. But I'm looking here. The right plays video games. You're right. The right does play video games. The right loves to say what caused it, but offers no solutions. And that was the whole point of the piece, is that we know the left wing thinks it's guns. And the left wing has done a lot to limit the access to firearms. Now, we can say all day, every day, that we think the left limiting firearms is wrong. I'm fine with folks who think that. But at the end of the day, they have tried to limit firearms. So they did make efforts to do what they think is wrong, even if those efforts are incorrect. On the right side of the aisle, what have they done? I mean, we can argue that they may not have the right solution, but what have they even tried to do? If you go to a right-wing state, you go to a left-wing state, you see the limitations on gun laws and all kinds of stuff. So you can see that the left wing is trying to do something, even though you think what they're doing is wrong. But what is the right wing even trying to do? If you go to Texas or you go to Florida, where they've had many mass shootings, what legislation have they even put on the board? What have they tried to do? So that's where I have, that's why I came up with the piece tonight. So anyway, I do have to go. So I do appreciate you guys coming through, and we'll do it again tomorrow.